In the last 3 years, Red Bull has never looked the way they look right now. So what is this new controversy the team has found themselves engulfed in? Let's talk about that today. Red Bull has acknowledged the existence of a device to alter its front bib height, but insists it can't be used while the car is assembled. Speculation arose on the eve of the United States Grand Prix when the FIA announced a clampdown on the matter. Concerns had been expressed by teams about potential exploitation of Parc Fermé rules to adjust ride height between qualifying and the race. As a result, new procedures were introduced from the Austin weekend. One way this could be prevented is by fitting seals on devices that alter the front bib's ride height to ensure they can't be moved. As teams gathered in Austin, focus centered on Red Bull. Sources suggest that competitors were alerted at the Singapore Grand Prix about the team's possible method to adjust front bib height via cockpit-accessible settings. This speculation arose after Red Bull had to publish design details on FIA servers as part of open-source regulations. It suggested this device has settings adjustable by a mechanic to alter the ride height. No modifications to Red Bull are planned for this weekend's race, but future changes might make compliance clearer. Such adjustments are allowed during practice but would be illegal under Parc Fermé conditions, from qualifying to the race. Discussions occurred between concerned teams and the FIA during the Marina Bay Circuit weekend, leading to talks with Red Bull to ensure compliance. This week, the FIA clarified there's no evidence Red Bull adjusted the device during Parc Fermé conditions. However, they'll be stepping up monitoring to ensure no one works outside the regulations. Red Bull denies any wrongdoing, insisting the device cannot be altered once the car is assembled. A senior team representative said, "Yes, it exists, although it is inaccessible once the car is fully assembled and ready to run." In the numerous correspondence we have with the FIA, this part came up, and we have agreed a plan going forward. The ride height adjustment controversy is heating up just as the F1 title battle between Red Bull and McLaren intensifies. Both teams are closely watching each other, with McLaren recently under scrutiny for its rear wing flexibility. Dubbed the Mini DRS, the way its upper element rotated to open the slot gap drew attention. McLaren agreed to make modifications after discussions with the FIA. Since then, Red Bull driver Sergio Perez has confirmed that he was aware of the bib trick, but reiterated that it was not available for him and Max to play with. In his words, "There has been nothing that we were doing. We didn't actually talk about it. It was impossible. If anything, for example, I remember here that last year it was a sprint event, so we ended up with the ride height in the moon. It was completely out of it because we were concerned about something like what happened to Mercedes and Ferrari being disqualified for excessive underfloor plank wear that could happen to us. I knew it existed, but it was not available to us to use." The FIA has ramped up measures to ensure that neither Red Bull nor any other team can tamper with their systems during Parc Fermé conditions. They're making it crystal clear. No funny business on the grid. Any adjustment of the front bib clearance during Parc Fermé conditions is strictly prohibited by the regulations, said a statement from the FIA. While we have not received any indication of any team employing such a system, the FIA remains vigilant in our ongoing efforts to enhance the policing of the sport. As part of this, we have implemented procedural adjustments to ensure that front bib clearance cannot be easily modified. But even with assurance from the FIA that they will be policing this matter more stringently, McLaren's CEO Zak Brown still has a few questions regarding the matter. He would reiterate his fears that Red Bull may be getting the upper hand with this trick. Being able to run the car lower is a competitive advantage. From what we can see, it is the only team that has the ability to adjust the ride height from inside the cockpit, and that raises questions. It's very clear that if you modify your car without permission, it is against the regulations, so they have decided to put a seal on it. Turns out, McLaren stumbled upon the device by poring over open-source documents every team submits to the FIA. All teams have access to this info, so it was only a matter of time before someone spotted it. Brown said, "I have heard that you can't adjust it when the car is fully race-prepped, but the car isn't always fully race-prepped when it's in Parc Fermé. That needs to be unpicked. Why do you need to put a seal on something that you can't access? So I still have questions." He added, "I have confidence the FIA will resolve the issue. I understand they are having to modify and change their car for upcoming races. Our questions are a bit more around what has historically happened. If it's used in an inappropriate manner, then it is definitely a performance advantage. If it's not, then there is no performance advantage, and that's what we want to discover." Red Bull's team boss Christian Horner heard all of what Brown had to say and responded saying, "Every car has a tool that they can adjust the front of the bib, what we call the front of the floor being called the bib. Ours is located at the front of the footwell. It's been there for, I think, for over 3 years. You've got to have the pedals out, other panels out and pipework out to be able to get to it. It's like any other adjustment on the car. It would be easier to adjust the rear roll bar than it is to get to that component. It's all part of the packaging in the front end of the chassis. FIA head of single-seater Nicholas Tombazis also shared his 2 cents with the media and said, "At the previous race, it was pointed out to us that certain designs could allow a change of the height of the front of the car, which some people call a bib in parc ferme. And we didn't have any indication or any proof that anybody was doing something like that. That would be clearly illegal under parc ferme regulations. So we said from this race onwards, there must be no possibility to do such thing at all. If there'd be a design that allowed a quick change of that height, then it would have to be sealed so they wouldn't have access in parc ferme, and all teams have adhered to that, and as far as we're concerned, everything is under control. It's certainly not a story from now on. We've done all that's needed to stop there being any accusations. And of course, it is a title championship and people get rather excited about each other's cars. All this chatter about the legality of this feature on the Red Bull has brought in different perspectives from the drivers, with Lando Norris saying, "I mean, it's one thing having it on your car, it's another thing on how much you exploit it and use it, which we have no idea on. If it has been helping them, if they've been utilising it in the way people think they have, then maybe it will shift in our direction. But I mean, when you talk about things like that, it's not going to gain them. They're not going to have got several pole positions or wins just because of such a device. I don't think it really will change anything in the scheme of things. But when we look at maybe certain qualifyings and we look at the gap in certain races this year, when it's been split by hundredths of a second in qualifying or even thousandths, then you might say, okay, well, maybe this has helped in that direction or this direction. But I think it's good that the FIA are doing such a thing. There's a difference between black and white stuff like this, and there's a difference between Formula One and pushing the boundaries and creating new things and innovating within the space that you're allowed to innovate. And I think that's what we as McLaren have done a very good job in. But we're sure not to go any further than that. While Verstappen said, "It is open source, right? Everyone can see it." For us, it was just an easy tool when the parts were off. It was to adjust, but once the whole car is built together, you cannot touch it. So for us, it doesn't change. When I read it, I was thinking about other teams doing it, and then I found out it was related to our team, and we never even mentioned it in the briefing. And no, it doesn't have an impact on performance. So has the F1 world caught Red Bull red-handed? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. That's all for today, so thanks for watching.